Alright, so this is a video on J.D. Salinger, who wrote The Catcher in the Rye. And J.D. stands for Jerome David, and he lived from 1919 until 2010. He graduated in 1935 from the Valley Forge Military Academy and went to New York University. Unfortunately, or perhaps not so unfortunately, he didn't do too well, got poor grades, and before the end of the second semester, his father urged him to go to Vienna in Denmark to learn a real trade in his father's meat importing business. Salinger left Austria a month before it was annexed by Nazi Germany in 1938 and attended evening writing classes at Columbia University. It was there that he learned to write short stories. In 1941, Salinger started dating someone called Una O'Neill, you see here in the picture on the left, and he was very much in love with her, but also thought that she was rather self-absorbed, meaning more interested in herself than anyone else. And he confided to a friend that, I quote, "Little Una is hopelessly in love with little Una." Their relationship ended when Una started cheating on Salinger with Charlie Chaplin, whom you see on the right, and she eventually married him. In 1942, Salinger had his call of duty and went to war. And in France he met Ernest Hemingway, another famous writer, who was very impressed by his writing and remarked, "Jesus, he has a hell of a talent." Salinger spoke some German and French, and therefore he was reassigned to interrogate prisoners of war, and you can imagine that these experiences affected him emotionally. He was hospitalized for combat stress reaction after Germany was defeated, and later told his daughter, "You never really get the smell of burning flesh out of your nose entirely, no matter how long you live." On May 10, 1946, Salinger returned to the United States, and The Catcher in the Rye was published on July 16 in 1951 and quickly reached number 4 on the New York Times bestseller list. In Dutch it is called De Vanger in het Graan. The Catcher in the Rye was praised by the New York Times as an unusually brilliant first novel, but although it became an instant hit with many, it was also met with alarm in other quarters. Some school boards made it required reading, but others banned it because of protests from parents over swearing, including the frequent use of goddamn, as you can see on the left, and more rarely fuck, as you can see on the right. Quite a number of parents and schools believed the main character, Caulfield, set a bad example. The Catcher in the Rye quickly became more and more notorious, and with it Salinger became more and more of a reclusive, and after 2 years of publication, when he was only 33, Salinger moved from New York to New Hampshire and basically cut off all social and public ties. On September 15, 1961, Time magazine, as you can see, devoted its cover to Salinger in an article that profiled this life of recluse. He didn't like publishing very much. He enjoyed writing, but he saw publication as a damned interruption. There is a marvelous piece in not publishing. I like to write, I love to write, but publication was not his thing. Here you see a mugshot of Mark Chapman, and this is the guy who killed John Lennon in New York in 1982. Or, sorry, 1980. So what does he have to do with The Catcher in the Rye and J.D. Salinger? Well, he remained at the scene after shooting John Lennon, and when he was arrested he had a copy of the book The Catcher in the Rye with him, and he was actually just sitting there waiting for the police, reading the book until they arrived. And he repeatedly claimed that this novel had inspired him to kill John Lennon. Here you see a photograph of Salinger that makes it abundantly clear that he didn't want people to mess with him, that he wanted to be left alone. And Salinger's best-known work, The Catcher in the Rye, became an inspiration to a rebellious teenager and sold nearly 60 million copies worldwide. In short, this is a book about alienation, which is the main theme, and you can learn more about it by watching the 10-minute video about the novel in which the story is explained.